Hello, this is old Mr. Kent of MrKent.com. I told you last time how that came about. Pardon me, every time I get started, I have to get a frog in my throat. Anyway, I'm 82 years old. I'm going through my life story on these E-Trike rides, and I'm now up to the point where I'm in my 50s. And if you want to get started from the beginning, who I don't know would, but if you do, at the end of this video, there's a link that says Life Story. Click on that. That'll take you a list of all the videos. Okay, so I took yesterday off because it was my wedding anniversary with my sweetheart, and we celebrated 49 years of loving each other. And so I didn't want to have to go wear myself out riding my trike and doing videos all day and all that stuff. It takes a little bit of work to do that. So let's get started. For one thing, I've got to tell you how I learned how to do spins. I don't think I put that in one of these videos. And but today I'm going to talk a little bit about what power lines can do to you. And there's my neighbor. I'm in my neighborhood this time. And so there's all the dogs. What power lines can do to you. And I've got a few experiences to share about that. And then also I'm going to finish up with a couple of humorous incidences in my airplane. So let's get started. When I first got, if you've been watching my videos, I don't just do boring things. I seem to push everything to the edge to see how it's going to happen, what's going to happen. And I've been that way all my life. And so when I got my Cessna 150 and got out there and got comfortable, and by the way, Pasco, Washington is where I lived, and it's all desert around there. So I'd go out in the desert and fly low and chase coyotes and just have fun. And then one time I just said, well, I'm going to go underneath. It was a high voltage transmission line, 100 feet in the air. And so I thought, well, I'm going to fly underneath of that. And then I got to thinking about flying underneath of power lines, because every time you come into land, you get down to where you're about 2 feet off the ground, and then you pull the power back and land. Well, but you don't have to do that. If you want to go over or go under a regular old power line, they're at least 20 feet high, and the side view of my Cessna 150 was less than 10 feet. So I reasoned that I should be able to just fly low like I'm going to land, go underneath the power line and give it full power and come back up. And so I did that, and I did a lot of flying under power lines. And the third part of this story is going to tell you what happened. Anyway, so the first incident happened when up in Prosser, Washington, which is to the west of Pasco. There's a town called Prosser, and it's got a little airstrip, and right next to the airstrip is a restaurant called the Red Barn. And so it was kind of fun to fly up there, land, go into the restaurant, have a snack, and then fly home. It was kind of just like, let's go out and go flying. We don't know where to go, so let's go have something to eat. So so that was what we did. Well, my wife and I one evening, must have been a summer evening, we decided we'd go up to the Red Barn. So got out of it, we ate our meal and left and took off. And there's a ridge. Prosser's kind of in a valley at the bottom of a ridge that runs east and west. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to fly along this ridge and just kind of follow it. And we'll look down into the valley and just have fun. So going along on this ridge, hi guys, good morning. Anyway, we're going along this ridge, and there was a high voltage transmission line, up ahead of me. And so I knew it was there, and so I started climbing gradually so we could go over it. And I'm looking out into the valley, and we're getting really too close to it, and I'm coming up over the top of it, and my wife hollers at me, and she says, "Watch out!" Here comes a car. She says, "Watch out!" and I looked, and there was a ground wire that was about 15, 20 feet above the heavy duty wires, cables that I didn't see. And so I gave it full back like this, and up we went over it. And when you do that, I mean, we were fortunate because I know we just barely missed that wire. But we're going like 90, 100 miles an hour. Oh, here comes a couple of dogs. So anyway, we made it okay. And when you do that, your behind sinks down into the springs of the seat. And so a couple more friends of mine. Anyway, so so we made it through that one. And then another very similar incident was when we had moved up to Othello. We were going to do a candy drop, so we had to fly. My wife drove me and the guy that did the dropping down to the airport at Basin City, and we got all loaded up in the plane. And she took off home because she wanted to watch the candy drop. And so we get in a plane. I don't know. This is not a good neighborhood for making videos, but I have to have some variety. Yeah, I see you. I know. Anyway, so we're flying back, and I'm like I'm going 100 miles an hour and going about 200 or 300 feet in the air because it's all going to be low level stuff. And we look down on the left. We're following the road back home, and there's my wife in our VW bus, and she's going along, and she's probably going about 60. And there's this great big green field up ahead of us. And I said, let's go down and buzz my wife flying along next to her. So we come down, and we're maybe 50 feet above the field, and we're going along. We're coming up. The car's right here in my eye, and we're coming up to it. And then all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see copper-colored wire. Is that close that I can actually see the color of the wire? I yank back, and we go back up again. And same as last time, behind goes down into the seat, and we cleared it. We didn't crash. So went and did the candy drop, and then we're flying back. And as we came over that field, I wanted to get down low and take a look because I'd never noticed that power line there. And I made flights over that field quite a bit. And so I got down low, and I pointed out to my friend. I said, there's that power line that we almost hit. And he says, we almost hit a power line? I said, yeah, because that was when you went like that. He says, oh, I didn't see the power line. He says, I did that because that yoke came at me like it was going to hit me. And so, yeah, he didn't expect that because he didn't see the power line. And so that thing he thought it was going to hit him, I suppose. That was first flight he'd ever taken with me. Maybe the last, as I remember. Anyway, so, and then one more story about power lines. When we fly over, when we're living in Pasco, and we'd fly over to Lewiston to visit my wife's folks, we just go straight line, and we fly over the north end of the Blue Mountains, and there's a river that comes out of there. It's in a valley. It's called the Two Cannon River, and there's it's a beautiful place. They have like a youth camp there, and they have all kinds of campgrounds along that river as it goes up into the mountains. And so I'm flying over, and I think I had to take Grandma home is what I did. And I had a friend with me. And so every time we fly over there, there's these high voltage transmission lines that are flying like parallel to us underneath, and they string a long string across that valley and across that river. And so we were coming back, and I had this friend with me, and I said, should we go down and fly under that power line down there? Yeah, it's okay with him. So I as we're coming home, well, then I start descending, and I fly up towards the mountain because I gotta turn. I'm coming this way, and I gotta go up here and turn around and drop down into the valley and then go underneath the power line, which is running this way. And so, uh, so we do that, and we're coming down, and there's that power line right in front of us. Big old heavy duty cables on it, just like that last one I had trouble with. And we go under that, and what I didn't realize, which I couldn't see from 5,000 feet up, was there was 2 or 3 other power lines stretched across that valley, and they were right in front of me. So I go underneath the heavy duty wires, and there's some more power lines. So I go underneath of them, and then there's some right in front of me, so I had to go up over them. And it was like going under here, up there, and weaving my way through power lines. You would think I would learn by then, wouldn't you? Anyway, so those are some power line stories. Now I'm going to tell you some humorous stories, okay? Hope I can get them all fit in. When I was working at the radio station, which was located at a church, every once in a while a new family would come, and so I would take them flying or do something. And I had a buddy who also had an airplane. He and his buddy were partners on it, and his buddy's name was Steve, and he was a nut spelled with capital letters. He was so much fun. So there was this couple that wanted to go, we asked them, and they said, sure, we'll go for a ride after church. So it's Sunday, and we get out of church, and we go out to the airport, and we get in both planes, and we don't fly exactly close together. They kind of go their way, and I go my way, and not paying any attention to where everybody is, which is okay. You don't need to do that. But then in order to get to this town we were going to, which is Ritzville, because in Ritzville, it's an old town. It's a lot of the buildings are abandoned. It's an old farming town. And so it's just, and then in this one building, of course, there's a restaurant there. And so we decide we're going to fly up there. We land, we walk into town, and we go to that restaurant. Well, we're the only people in the restaurant, and so there's 2 guys over here at this table, and Steve and his other buddy, I can't remember his name, and then me and my wife and this couple are at this table, and we're all sitting there joking around and goofing around. That's what happened when you were around this guy named Steve. And so we're goofing around, and these 2 older ladies who must have just gotten out of church, or they were in church, but they're all dressed up like going to church. And I'm sure that they were farmers' wives or something, and they were older than us, and they came in to have a nice quiet Sunday afternoon lunch. Problem is, we were there. And so we're goofing around and everything. And now remember, I forgot to tell you, we had to fly over the town of Connell to get to Ritzville, all right? So as we're sitting there, when we were coming up, I got on the radio and I said to Steve and his buddy, I said, where are you guys? And they were over the town. They said they were over the town of Connell. Well, I was over the town of Connell, and I could see a plane way out to my right, to the east, and that had to be them, but they were over some other, Washtukna, I think was the name of the town. And they said they were over Connell. Well, you have to be real careful. You don't know. Maybe they are right above you, or maybe they are right below you. That's one of the common causes. I'm going to turn around again because I'm in my neighborhood here. One of the common causes of aircraft accidents is they lose contact, or they lose sight of where the other plane is, and it turns out one's above them or below them or something like that, and then they collide. And so as we're going along in Connell, I didn't see them by me, but they kept saying we're over Connell, and so we finally, all of us got up there okay, and we got to the restaurant, and these ladies walk in, and we're goofing around, we're telling jokes and everybody's laughing except these old ladies. They're sitting where I can look right at them. They're sitting against the wall over here, and now we're going to be more dogs. I like going to my neighborhood, but There's a lot of dogs. Oh, I see ya. Yep. Okay, back to the story. So we're goofing around, and we somebody will say something, and we'll all laugh. And I look over at those old ladies, and they're just sitting there sipping their tea, you know. And so we do that, and every time we tell a joke, I'm thinking maybe they're going to think that's funny. And I look at them, and they're just sitting there sipping their tea. Well, as it turns out, they were listening to us, because we got into this argument about who was over Connell. And so it was, you know, we were going back and forth. No, we were. And Steve, being the joker that he was, he says, as sure as we're sitting here in Lewiston, Idaho, I know we were over Connell. About that time, this one lady was about ready to take a drink, and she actually broke out laughing and spewed her coffee, and I felt sorry for her, because they finally had to admit that we were having fun. Anyway, so that was one incident, and I guess I just stretch it a little bit and tell you another incident. Nah, I'll save that one for another time, because we're running out of time. I like to keep my videos 15 minutes or less than 20 or something like that. So anyway, I got another humorous story I'll tell you if I can remember on the next video. And also I'll try to remember to tell you how I learned how to do spins. So if I can keep that all in my mind, all right? So for right now, I want to thank you for watching my video, and God bless.